So the Office for National Statistics have just released the inflation figures for the UK covering the period up to March 2024. And inflation has eased, but not by as much as expected. So the inflation rate dropped to 3.2% from 3.4% in the previous month. The hope was it was going to come down to 3.1%. Of course, this doesn't mean that prices are getting any cheaper. It just means that they're increasing at a slower rate. But if we take a look at the actual numbers, so as we can see on screen, main points are Consumer Price Index rose by 3.2% in the 12 months to March 2024, down from 3.4% in February. Now, for those of you that follow me on a regular basis, you'll know that I don't particularly like the look of the CPI figure. I actually prefer to look at the CPIH figure because that actually includes owner-occupied housing costs. So looking at that figure instead, Consumer Price Index, including the owner-occupied housing costs, rose by 3.8% in the 12 months to March, which was unchanged from the previous month. Now, if we scroll down to this graph here, now the line that most people focus on is the light blue one. That's the consumer price inflation figure that we've just reported at 3.2%. So if I hover over that at the bottom here, you can see CPI 3.2. The one that I like to focus on is the dark blue line, which is the CPIH, as I've just reported at 3.8. And the reason that that's higher is because of this line here, which is the owner-occupied housing costs. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, we can see here the owner-occupied housing cost component of CPIH rose by 6.3% in the 12 months to March 2024, up from 6% in February. This is the highest annual rate since July 1992 in the constructed historical series. Owner-occupied housing costs rose by 0.6% on the month, compared with a 0.3% increase between February and March 2023. The reason for this? Increased mortgage costs. So the fact that we are now in a higher interest rate environment, and we have of late seen lenders increasing their interest rates again, that's having the impact on this, because there's been so many people that have been sitting on a lot lower interest rates, having to now remortgage because their fixed rates are ending, and they're now experiencing this rate shock that we spoke about last year, and their mortgage costs are increasing significantly, 3-4 times what they were previously in some cases. Now, the fact that there's more than 1.5 million people with a mortgage whose fixed rate is due to end this year, this black line is only going to continue to go in one direction, and that's up this year. So that is actually going to have a continued impact on the inflation number. However, the good news is at the beginning of April, we did see the energy price cap reduce, and there is the hope that when we see the inflation figures in May, that price cap reduction is going to actually follow through and mean that the inflation rate that everybody reports on will have dropped even further and be closer to that 2% target. So what's this going to mean for interest rates when we consider the Bank of England? Well, there was expectations that there could be a rate cut in June. Whether or not that is still on the cards, we don't know. Certainly looks like in America, the Federal Reserve are having a few issues and inflation has started to tick up again over there, but their economy is greatly different to ours. Normally, when the Federal Reserve make their first cut, that's when the European Central Bank and the UK tend to follow. But the feeling is that this time round, the European Central Bank might go first, followed by the UK. There is still a glimmer of hope that that first rate cut could come in June, but I feel possibly that it could be pushed back a little bit further until the next meeting in August. So we'll have to watch this space closely. But that's the latest inflation figures. Please do let me know your thoughts and comments below. And does it feel like you've got more money in your pocket? How do these inflation figures actually look on the ground? Please do let me know.